Why hello and welcome back to another episode of Voice of the Rings. I'm your hosting guide, Zolan Ironshield, and today, my friends, we're going to talk a little bit about a few things that I think RIseToWar may have got an oopsie on, okay? So as you all know, just a disclaimer, I really enjoyed this game. I support it a lot, I love it, I play it a ton, but just as much as I praise it, I am going to critique it in times that I think it should be critiqued, and hopefully it'll get noticed by the devs and maybe they'll take notice of it. But one thing that I've noticed with one of the big updates, all right, and it's the one that just happened, and I'll get straight into it so you don't have to wait for a big spiel. The Kingdoms game mode, there has been a thing with the Fellowship game where you could have Fellowship game mode where you can have 5 fellowships, right, be in a kingdom. Well, last season was fantastic. It's my favorite game mode. I had so much fun, and then I found out that they were changing it and they're making it only 3 fellowships per kingdom. Okay. I immediately called this out. I don't think I made a video on it because I didn't think it was super important that very moment, but I talked to some of my friends on our fellowship and I was like, I immediately was worried that there was going to be issues. And like 3 or 4 of my main worries that I pointed out like 3 months ago at the time of this video, have come to pass. Okay. So, I think their goal was to make it 3 instead of 5, was to make it where there's more kingdoms. But what I said was, when you do that, what's really going to happen is, on any one server, unless there's an absurd amount of players, but there's only a certain limit of players you can have on a server, is that a lot of the big groups are going to merge. And it's really going to come down to all the people who spend a lot of money and are really big players, they're the ones that are going to win everything. Right? It's not going to cause like there to be like 6, 7 kingdoms. We wish that would be the case, but what's going to happen is the 3 or 4 or 5 big fellowships on the server, they're going to be the ones that group up, and then all the smaller, maybe like other 10 fellowships that are on the server are all going to get left out in the cold, right? They're not going to get any rewards because they're not going to be able to fight these other giant kingdoms. That was my worry, and what's happening right now in my server is coming to pass. So again, it's a mistake. It was a mistake of an update, in my personal opinion. I've been playing since the game started now. But again, I still have had fun this season. But it's causing a lot of issues in our server. So I would highly recommend that they take a look at that and maybe make it 4 fellowships per kingdom instead of 3, right? Or bring it back to 5. I would recommend they just put it back to 5. Because what it does to have 5 fellowships in his kingdom is that usually you'll probably have more than 5 massive fellowships in a kingdom, right? So what's going to happen is there's going to be a split up, right? There's going to be a couple here, a couple there, that kind of thing. And then a lot of the littler fellowships will join them. They'll recruit the smaller fellowships. What happens is now you've got big players on both sides battling it out. Instead of, there's only 3 fellowships. All right, well, there's 6 or 7 big fellowships. Well, guess what? All the little fellowships, which are, there's like 20 altogether, right? Now it's just the 2 big kingdoms battling it out while the other little groups get crushed, right? And don't get anything. And it's really discouraging, right? For free-to-play players or that kind of thing. So that's what I'm worried about as someone who's been playing this game since it came out, is that I feel like that kind of having 3 fellowship systems, I know it's almost counterintuitive because people are thinking, oh, well, 3, shouldn't that make it more diverse to have more kingdoms with more big groups in it so they don't all just group into 5 and 5? Well, it doesn't really usually work like that on servers, the amount of people that are on the server. If there were more players on the server, that might work like that, but my experience now with like 8 seasons is that it doesn't happen like that. Even in kingdoms, not kingdoms, even in regular factions, in regular glory and those ones, right? Usually there's 2 or 3 big factions, right, that have all the big fellowships in them. So I think that the Kingdoms game mode, they probably should revert that. Another big thing that I think would be this is another just positive suggestion, is that they move the rings around a little more. So right now there's 2 rings in the south, right? There's 3 rings in the middle. There's 2 rings over here on the right, and there's 1 far over here. Unfortunately, what I feel like is happening in the last 2 seasons is that most people just spawn either in this area, or they spawn over here on the right, or they want to spawn in the corner and take everything as fast as they can, that kind of thing, right? That's kind of like their goal, because you can grab as many rings as you want then. I think one of these rings, Dol Amroth is a nice place to put a ring, it's realistic. But maybe instead of this one down here in Horondor, or maybe this one over here on the side of Mordor, maybe you move one of those up to Angmar, up here in the middle, or Gundabad, right? So now you've got a more spread out, or maybe another ring, somewhere up down over here on the side, on the left side, just to have like 2 rings on the left side, 2 rings on the right, 2 on the bottom, 2 in the middle, and the 1 rings right here in the top middle, right? A little bit more of a spread out balance. I suggest that because I've seen that now that I've been playing the game for 2 seasons, this particular game mode. Been playing the game for the last 7 or 8, I forget, I've lost track. I would recommend that would probably be a good update. All right, move 1 of the rings, or even better, add 2 more. All right, if you're gonna make it where it's only 3 fellowships per kingdom, still add 2 more rings. Add another one up here on the top, make it 10 rings instead of 8, right? Add another one up there at the top somewhere near Gundabad or Angmar. Add 1 more ring maybe over here on the left, possibly, or in the top right if you wanted to. Or, I'm seeing something like that. I think that would be nice. Or maybe a ring kind of in the middle along the mountains here. Maybe like Rivendell, right? Like, so we have one here in Isengard. What about add a ring maybe like here in Rivendell? Now that would be kind of close if you did a ring like an Angmar. It'd be a little close to have 2 rings. So again, you could do Rivendell and you could do Gundabad, right? Because it's kind of a good split. There's a mountain range you can't really get over very easily there. I think that would be a nice thing if they just added 2 rings, or stick a ring down here. Seriously, just out in the middle of nowhere. It might add a little bit of a spice that one kingdom can have its capital way back here. You know what I mean? Now, would they have an advantage? Yes. Now, would they be ridiculously far from the 1 ring? Yes, they would, right? So there'd still be challenge there. You could even throw a wing maybe. You can't really do it right here because there's one right there in Numinos. Again, of course, you can move the Numinos ring. You could leave one in the Grey Havens. You could move a Numinos to possibly... You really want to do it on a capital. You could move that to Angmar, I guess, right? So again, those are my thoughts on that. What do you guys think on that? Please leave your comments. What things have you liked, right? And what things have you disliked? Have you liked the change that there's only 3 fellowships? Have you disliked it? I love to hear your opinion. I have greatly disliked it personally, but I can understand if other people have different opinions, right? That's the goal of anything, right? Discussion, fun discussion. Even if we don't agree, it's fun to have discussion, guys. That's the goal. All right, so those are my suggestions to the RIseToWar team. I really think you should put it back to more people in a kingdom. I think there should be 4 or 5 fellowships, not 3. Because I think what's happening is, I think their goal, again, to reiterate my goal one more time, is their goal was to remove the whole, all the big fellowships are on 2 teams. Well, unfortunately, I think having 3 teams is actually doing that very thing. Because what's happening is now, instead of it being like 3 and 3 big fellowships, and then 2 little extra ones, 2 smaller fellowships, join them 5 and 5. Now it's 3 and 3 big fellowships, and all those little ones are left out in the cold, right? And again, I'm in a big fellowship. I'm in a rather big one, all right? So now with that in mind, we're going to go on another thing here, all right? I'll timestamp it for this one. So now I want to talk a little bit about, and this is not to the RIseToWar team or anything to the RIseToWar game. I want to talk to the players, all right? I want to talk to you guys about RIseToWar etiquette, just a little bit, okay? Our team tries very, very hard to be very honorable and listen and talk to people and make treaties and that kind of stuff. Now, again, this is a game. There's going to be misunderstandings. There's going to be issues with communication where someone causes a problem, and then there might be a little bit of an echo chamber that happens in a group where someone says something, someone did something, and then everyone says, and then everyone thinks they did that and they didn't do that. That's going to happen. All those things are going to happen. It's a game, right? But again, I ask this question to everyone who plays. Do you want to play a game where the goal is to just win and be totally dishonorable and not have fun, right? Me personally, the answer is no. I would rather be honorable and have a fun game, right? Because it's just a better game. I've noticed RIseToWar, whenever it's a season where everyone is honorable and everyone follows their treaties, and if something's gonna get broken, we kind of say, hey, you know what, we're canceling that treaty, just so you know. You don't have to tell them what you're gonna do, just let them know, right? It's way nicer. It's so much more fun. Now, again, a lot of you probably will disagree with me. You're like, oh, no, that's part of the game. It's like, okay, Well, the bottom line is it's not very much fun when that happens, especially if you're not the winning side. Now, if you're the one that's backstabbing someone and you're like, ha ha ha, yeah, maybe you like that. Maybe you have fun with that. I don't know. The majority, I've noticed, the majority of people who play this game, RIseToWar, don't like that, right? Most people, you get labeled real quick as you're a traitor, right? Or your group, your fellowship is not honorable kind of thing, right? Again, that's why I'm in my fellowship, Team Fire, because we really hold to our treaties, and that's just how we do. And again, a lot of other fellowships, right? Like Nugu, N-U-G, it's the Cult of Nine, and their fellowships, they're very honorable. We actually played with them last season with Kingdoms. It was very fun. And this season, they're super honorable. We're on the same server. So with that said, with that aside, give you a little history of what's going on this season, a couple things what not to do, okay, to new players or to anybody in general, all right? So again, there's going to be multiple views and multiple sides on things, okay? But what happened is apparently the Blue Kingdom is very powerful, okay? They're very powerful, and we were having good fights, and we had kind of a treaty that we wouldn't fight along our border over here, right? We wouldn't attack them from the back, they wouldn't attack us, we'll just battle over here around the ring. Well, what happened is Blue Kingdom was simultaneously fighting us in the north here with our kingdom, and I'll explain why there's not a kingdom here in a minute, okay? We were fighting them, they were fighting us in the north, and Nugu, that's not the abbreviation, is it? I guess it is Nugu, N-U-G, okay. They were fighting on this side, and we also had our other part of our kingdom down here, which is another fellowship we were playing with, LATM, okay? And Only and something, one of their other names, Only is the main group on them, and then they also have another group, this one. So anyway, so we're battling on all sides, and they're winning. The blue team is very powerful. They're good. They've been honorable all season before this. And again, I would like to point out, when I say these things in the next 2 seconds, please don't misunderstand and see I'm trying to label an entire group of hundreds of players, okay? This is particularly their choices as whoever their officers or leaders are, okay? So, and this is what happened. And maybe it was a misunderstanding to an extent, but if one of their leaders sees this, do realize that this is what we know. This is the facts from our side, and this is what we know, okay? Again, I'm not going to say anything politically that's for diplomatic talks, but I'm going to tell you the base facts over the last 2 weeks, all right? This video will come out later after it anyway. So we were all fighting, so we ended up deciding, okay, well, we'll ally with, we were battling them in the north, Black Kingdom, right? Again, they're our old comrades from last season, so we're like, oh, we'll have fun, we'll battle. Well, Blue was just taking everything. We're like, okay, they're really strong, right? We're not as strong. And by the way, our kingdom, we're pretty strong. We have probably about 150 strong players-ish, but right now we don't have many, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So anyway, we started fighting them here. All were starting their fight here. Blue was still winning, mind you, still winning, okay? So then Blue, out of the blue, no pun intended, broke the treaty without telling us overnight and attacked and took our main place right here along their border, right? Which turned off our kingdom, right? That's why there's no kingdom up here right now. And we were part of this kingdom down here. And we were like, oh, well, what happened? And they're like, well, you guys made a treaty with Black, and we want to make sure we secure, that. And we're like, we felt slighted because we weren't warned, we weren't told, right, with our treaty. We hadn't attacked them for weeks. We've been very honorable following our treaty. So that's the facts. That's what happened. No matter what anyone says or anyone, that's what happened, okay? And of course, it made us upset, but we talked to them, right? And by the way, I'd like to point out that some of them, Mel, I think it was very nice, talked with us. Now, again, it doesn't make up the fact that they did take it. But one of their leaders to talk to us was very nice, actually came to chat with one of my live streams. It was very nice to talk to me for him a few minutes. And then Nugu, their leaders were trying to help moderate and go, hey, what's going on? And we tried to have really good civil discourse with, but so far, at the point of me making this video, I will leave a comment if anything changes later, okay? They kind of just said, no, we're just taking this, and that's how it is, right? Because you guys, and they tried to make something up about us. I don't remember the details. I'm not going to say what, that we broke some treaty or something, which I know is not true. Never happened. So I don't know if someone said it in their group and then they all thought that was a real thing. But again, I never want to call people liars without knowing the exact details. So I'll never say that. Oh my gosh. I'm just going to insert this somewhere in the video. Okay. I know this just popped out of the blue right in my mid conversation, but This is also super, super important. This was also kind of a nail in the coffin that we didn't know about. Only had traitors that joined our fellowship on our side. Don't do this, guys, okay? For new players or players that played Rise of War, this is an honorable thing. Do not put other accounts or traitors so you can spy on the conversations of your enemies and see their movements. It's really not supposed to be a part of the game. You could say, oh, well, it's a part of the game, but it isn't. This person was a traitor. He was in our group for like 8 weeks. So again, this might have been planned for them to take the capital all that time. I almost forgot to add this to the video. But then he switched, joined, so they could jump to him and immediately attack our place. So that was quite disheartening. And that was kind of the nail in the coffin there, right? So yeah, it was a little bit like, oh my gosh, they had traitors that whole time. Why would they do that? That's horrible, right? Like, to put their own players into our fellowship so they could spy on us and then do that and attack us. So obviously it was premeditated, and obviously they really did want to win the game, even to a very low, sinking to a low level, which we did not sink to, our group here on Fire. We would never do that. I can't believe people would do that. And apparently they've done that in the past. We were told by certain other groups. So anyway, continue on right here, but I had to add that into right here. So keep going. But again, this is what I'm talking about with etiquette. Realistically, what they should have done is they should have came to us and said, hey, we don't really like that you guys did a treaty with them because we were trying to keep it more balanced. And by the way, the whole season, all our leaders, all 3 kingdoms were trying to keep the server balanced, which again, this goes back to the beginning of my video here, why I'm worried about the whole 3 fellowship in a kingdom. We're trying to balance it with 3 fellowship thing. I think it would have balanced itself if we could have had 5 and 5. That's my view on it, right? Because what we basically did was the biggest fellowships all joined, and we were we were the 7th biggest fellowship on the server, so we kind of had to make 2 groups, and we had one other fellowship that joined us too. It was pretty big, but it ended up being, it rewarded the really, really big fellowships, this new system. Instead of making it more of an even server where we could have been helping, maybe we would have been in the kingdom with them, right? And working together. So anyway, back to the story. Long story short with that, we were a little frustrated. We had talks with them. We said, hey, will you give it back to us? They acted like it was a misunderstanding, the people who took our capital, the blue team. So we had, oh, okay, so you want to give it back? And they're like, no. And we're like, okay. And they're like, we don't really want to, we just want to do PvP. We don't really want to win the game. And we're like, then why did you just backstab us and take the capital? Because we never were backstabbing you, right? We were just having fun. Battling in the north. So we got no communication. This is one thing in RIseToWar, guys. If people ask you as the main leader of another group, communicate with them, okay? Now, we did have communication a little bit later, but it was more through they only would talk to the other kingdom, which is kind of like weird. There was some little thing, they almost had like a grudge against us. I'm not sure what that was completely. Again, to my other fans that aren't RIseToWar people, you don't need to worry about this video, I know. But anyway, this is like the politics in this game, right? Again, not my favorite part about the game. I enjoy the fighting. I enjoy working with teams. I enjoy fighting good rivals, which is pretty much black. They've been very wonderful, fun fighting rivals. And blue has too, a lot of them. So I don't know what this move was. It was really weird. It was out of the blue again. So it was out of the blue, though. There was no real reason to attack us. I think they tried to kind of say a reason, but they never gave us a solid answer to exactly what. It was more like, oh, well, you kind of joined with black, so we wanted to make sure you couldn't do it. It was like, yeah, you were beating us all together. They have as much power as the rest of the whole entire server combined pretty much. So it was actually more even when we joined black, mind you. So obviously it wasn't that they wanted to try to even the server. It wasn't that there was they were worried they're going to start losing. And it wasn't that they're just want to PvP, they don't care about winning. They do care about winning. That was why they backstabbed us, right? They cared so much about winning that they go against their honor, right? And that's what I'm warning everyone as new players, guys, in the RIseToWar. Never do that. never do that. All right? It's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. Because the problem is now hundreds of players think that this fellowship are like, and all label this fellowship as, oh, they broke their word in that one season. And that's a bummer. Including I know a lot of the Black Kingdom who are our friends. I'm not going to ever say anything to talk for them. Because they've been very nice and they have been neutral on some things. But they don't think this was cool either. They also, a lot of them disagreed with what Blue did here, and they thought it was not cool. All right? So, and they tried to help moderate it, and we still are. At the time of me making this video, people are still talking. But, so, anyway, back to the long story short, don't do that, guys. Don't do that, okay? I would just monologue about this for an hour, but I thought it was really important to talk about because this is the kind of thing that if you are going to play Rise to War, if you're going to end up being a leader someday of a group, stay honorable. I would like to point out in our group this whole time we've stayed completely honorable and we did not break any treaties with anyone, and we are just trying our best to fight now an uphill battle because we were basically betrayed, right, in that way. Now, next thing that happened was, now that there is this new system, right, with only 3 fellowships, our friends down here who had this capital were going to remake the kingdom, right? They were going to remake it, and they were going to, here's another thing not to do. They were going to remake it, and maybe they'll still, maybe this won't happen. I will leave a comment if this has changed, okay? So this video isn't not telling the truth, okay? If this changes later, I'll leave a comment. But basically what happened is they reformed the kingdom, and they decided they just want to be their own little one kingdom, and they don't want to reinvite our fellowship. So now, instead of fighting with us, they decided they're just going to stay in their own thing, their own little world here, and just leave us high and dry. Our other 2 fellowships that were up here. Again, I think this is a strategic thing for you later players, is with the Kingdoms game mode, I highly recommend if you have someone on the other side of the world, even if they are very nice, probably not a good idea to kingdom up if there's other kingdoms that are going to split you. It makes it really hard to fight. Okay, that's just another comment. So anyway, that's another thing not to do, okay, because it kind of stabbed us, because not only have we been betrayed by our technically they're our enemies though, right? There are, our rivals in the game. We were also kind of betrayed by our allies. So now we're kind of in this spot where we're like, okay, well, we'll keep doing our best. So we decided we'll just keep fighting whatever we can fight, right? And we'll see how it goes, right? Now, I'd like to point out again, this kingdom has been wonderful this whole time. All of these fellowships that are in this kingdom here have been really, really, really nice. And they've kind of stuck up for us with saying things, which I really appreciate. And of course, they're a lot of our friends. So again, I think this all could have been solved. Why I combined this video in 2 different subjects, right? In etiquette, don't do these kind of things. Be honorable. And also that I think the team, right, of the actual game designers shouldn't have put it to 3 fellowships for a kingdom, is because of this very situation now that we're in. It really comes down to those 2 things. It comes down to that it should have still been 5 fellowships for a kingdom, because it was a better balance. It really was. And some people might disagree with me, and that's totally fine. And you can disagree in the comments, but I disagree. I think it's been very unbalanced, and I have a lot of experience in the game now. And again, we might not even play this game mode next season. We might go play one of the other ones, even though I really liked this game mode last season. But now that update's really kind of like, bleh. It's made us not like it as much, just because of what's happened. Now, again, the other reason is because of treachery, right? Pretty much. And again, whatever the other kingdom has said other things too, they can say whatever they want. We never broke any treaties. We never did anything wrong. So that's just how it goes. And of course, they're going to have different stories. Of course, everyone is going to have it. But this is the facts. This is what happened. And yeah, I just wanted to use it as a learning experience for newer players or other players in Rise to War. And again, this game is fun. I know this whole video was me kind of ragging a little bit on the game, but you can watch my playlist on here on Rise to War. I love the game. I've played this. I have so many videos on this game that are all positive, that are all like, oh, I love this game. Look at this. Listen how you do this. I love the game. I'm not going to stop playing it. But this is a little bit disheartening sometimes when this kind of stuff happens. So if more players in Rise to War base didn't do things like this and were just a little better at communicating, because a big one was communication. We were trying to communicate as the red team to them, and Black was also trying to communicate to Blue, and we got hours of silence while they were attacking and destroying things of our stuff. So it wasn't like they just weren't doing anything. They were actively attacking. And we were like, wait, why are you guys doing this? Like, and we're like trying to hold off with what little forces we had there, because we weren't planning on defending that, because we weren't backstabbing them in the back and coming around the back here into their land. And we made a rule, we won't do that. So anyway, that's kind of how it goes. And yeah, but again, still a fun game. I still really like Rise to War, but I really think these are big things that they could that as a player base we could work on, right? And again, by the way, I don't want you guys to just totally go after these people yet. There are nice people in these fellowships still. Please don't do that. Don't just start attacking each other and fighting. we leaders tried really hard to talk. Again, if you're someone that's in one of these kingdoms and you're like, I didn't know that was happening, what the heck? Talk to your leaders. Find out why they're doing it, right? Like, be active, right? Don't just follow blind orders, right? Because if I would have been in this kingdom, I would have been questioning why we were doing that, okay? Because for me, that would have been dishonorable. I'm like, why are we taking their, what? Why are we doing this, right? Well, I thought we had a treaty. I would have questioned it, but that's just how it goes. But you could still question it now, right? If you're someone in that. And again, one of their leaders seemed like they were trying, but it doesn't seem like really real action. Action has to happen, right? People can say a lot of words, but action has to happen to really prove that, oh, they really did right their wrong kind of thing. Which maybe they'll do still, and I'll leave a comment if they do, okay? I will leave a comment if they do. But on another note, 3 seasons ago, we fought one fellowship, which I've already ragged on, but they were they were way worse than this. They were like, they did mean things to us and backstabbed us after deals and then made fun of it for weeks in the chat. It was really bad. Nasty, I think, was their fellowship's name. Yeah, and it's a pretty adequate. So it was nothing to what that Only just did to us. But now I will say what Only did was pretty bad this season, at least in last week. Unless it's just really bad communication on their part. But it's pretty darn bad, especially when we're really nice players. And if you guys see this, if Only sees this video, you guys, we don't hate you guys. No one hate. We're really nice We're like really nice players. Fire. So like, if people got a little heated or frustrated in conversations, that's just because we felt like we were major being wronged, right? And we really were, from all the facts. I came into it, by the way, very I didn't really know what was going on as much, so I came into it fresh with a conversation when this first was happening before our thing was taken, and I tried to help moderate and talk and like see what because I could tell some of our leaders on our side were a little frustrated, and then the other side too, and so I tried to moderate it. And again, I talked to Mel, she was very nice and she helped too, but nothing really happened out of it, unfortunately. Only went through with their plan of betraying us basically. But yeah, and again, I know you're like, well, they're your enemies, they're your rivals, of course they're gonna attack your keep. Yes, of course, but remember, we had a deal that we'd all be fighting over here, and they were the ones that were saying they wanted the deal, right? That they wanted to just make sure we're having fun, the server's balanced, and we're fighting over here, and then they did that, right? And we could have attacked from the back at any time, any of these spots. Like, we had weeks to do it. And we didn't, because we made a deal with them. We're honored. We're not going to break that, right? So, again, this is a really long rant, a little bit. I know. And again, to my Lotro fans and everyone else on the Lord of the Rings channel here, I promise I won't do these videos a lot, but this was important to me. I wanted to show other RIseToWar players later. And again, guys, just in any video game, right? Anyone here who maybe listened to this whole video, I appreciate it. If this ever, in any video game, I would recommend it is better to be honorable in whatever you do, and then just, do something totally backstabby to win the game. Because really, are you really going to enjoy that win after you know that you kind of did it in a pretty bad, lousy way, right? It's like, yeah. Anyway, maybe people don't feel bad. I don't know. I would feel pretty bad on that, but maybe it's just a different level of honor. I don't know. Maybe I'm too chivalrous. Ugh. I know that sounds way prideful, though, so yeah. Yeah, I don't think that of myself. I do things wrong, too. Everybody does things wrong in life, you guys. That's the thing. But we can make up for it, right? And even if maybe in the future we'll end up being really good friends with this people. But right now, little bit on edge with them. Again, we have been talking with them, and there are some nice people in their group, but their choices have been rough. And it was a little disappointing in our fellowship here that they decided to kind of leave us out high and dry after we've kind of been like sending troops to help them too, because they got attacked by Black early, and that weakened our push. So they have a kingdom now, and now we don't. So yeah, it's a bummer. It's a bummer. But again, guys, it's just a game, okay? It's just a game. That's the biggest thing we have to remember, right? And that's, again, why it's just a game. I'd rather be honorable, because whether it's a game or real life with anything, I'd always rather be honorable, right? It's just like, why would you not be? You know what I'm saying? Especially it's this game. Like, it's a game, you lose. What? So what? At least we were honorable, right? But, yeah. Anyway, there's my little talk. Again, my big thing for the RIseToWar team again is that I think that the fellowship thing being limited to 3 for the kingdom was a big mistake, and it's playing out pretty hard. Now, again, you could say, oh, well, it's just the treachery you dealt with in this whole, season. Yeah, maybe to an extent, but the bottom line is it makes it where you can't group up as well. So what happens is the big fellowships group up, and all the smaller fellowships get left on the side, or a big fellowship like ours that only has about 100 active players really can't form a full kingdom, because we have to just grab like 2 smaller tiny fellowships, right? And then we're not nearly as strong as these other fellowships. So 5 group, then we could have joined another group of 5, and there could have been the other one, which was last season, which was fantastic, and it was amazing. It was super fun. So anyway, that's the story. That's the message for you guys. Again, sorry to be so monologue-y. But thank you to my patrons. Thanks to Scumly for his support. I really, really appreciate it a lot. And again, take this away, my friends, with be honorable in life, right? No matter what you do, even in a video game, if you're honorable, and it will come back to you. All right, it'll come back to you. And again, I do not hate anybody. And even that other season where we had that really bad fellowship, I don't hate them. I dislike them, but you don't want to hate people. Just yeah, we all do things wrong sometimes. But the thing is, what do we do to correct it, right? And how do we try to not do it in the first place? Which is the point of this video. And also, I think that the dev team should put it back to 5 fellowships in a kingdom. I really think it should. So you guys have a great day in Middle Earth. Thank you for watching again. Subscribe button's there if I earned it. Next episode's up there for Rise to War. And again, they will be more positive and less monologue-y. And over there, we have a LATM where I do voiceovers in Lord of the Rings Online. Have a great day in Middle Earth. I'll see you all in the next episodes of Voice of the Rings. Baruch Kazan, Kuzan, I met you.